Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Juan Gamer 54, back in the video today. You know what time it is. Game Theory has dropped a new FNAF theory, so you know it's gonna be a good day. Yes, it is, and especially considering that the thumbnail, the thumbnail. Let me just show you. I mean, it's not gonna get much interesting than this. You mean to tell me that so basically we're gonna be reacting to the secret Afton killer, and apparently that Willie A ain't guilty. I call Cap. So we're gonna be playing this as Judge Judy, and we're gonna see what evidence does this prove that William Afton is innocent. So without further ado, let's go.
This main villain has been keeping a secret from us since the beginning, and none of us caught it. Now Scott has released Into the Pit for a third time to try and get us to realize that while we were all looking at Afton and the Mimic, there was another lurking in the shadows that explains everything.
Alright, let's do this. Also, I'm pretty sure around the same time I'll be releasing my review on the book.
About as much as Scott does. Yeah, if you haven't already heard, we've gotten the second main entry in Scott's interactive novel trilogy. It's called Return to the Pit, and if you're a fan of FNAF, that name will absolutely ring a bell. In 2019, we had the first ever Fazbear Fright story called Into the Pit. Last year, we had Into the Pit, the game, and now Scott is returning to what is clearly his favorite story in the franchise for a third time. But you want to know what's more infuriating than Scott telling us the same story over and over again? Scott changing that story just slightly each time. For both the original story and the game, the missing children's incident was shown to involve 6 kids, rather than the typical 5 that we've been told about in the game. So in and of itself caused lots of disagreements within the fan base. But now in this new book, do you want to guess how many kids there are?
No.
It's been changed back to 5.
Wow.
More with the games? Does that mean that this version is canon, but the original Fazbear Frights isn't? Scott, my guy, I literally spent an entire episode talking about how it would be nice if the books were canon, and then you go and pull this on me? I mean, I'm thankful you didn't change it to something crazy like 7, but seriously! That being said, this version of the story being more likely canon than the other versions does allow for some interesting theorizing. Something I didn't talk about in our week before theory was how a choose-your-own adventure can work in terms of canonicity. With each of these stories, while there are multiple endings, there is only one canon ending. However, that doesn't mean that the other endings can't be used to help solve the lore. In the week before, we know that phone guy Ralph has to die on night 4. But that doesn't mean that an item he finds in a drawer in a non-canon route can't be used as evidence. The item still exists in that drawer in the world. It is canonically there. It's just that canonically, Ralph never discovers it. Return to the Pit is working on that same principle. The canon ending is Oswald defeats the Yellow Rabbit and saves his dad, like he does in the original story. But there are a number of alternate paths that don't go that way that we can still learn from. Remember, this is the
come on!
original story. But there are a number of alternate paths that don't go that way that
I will say that I'm most likely getting myself spoiled, so oopsie for me. But yeah, by the time this video has been released, I'm pretty sure you'll see a double upload, I guess. Well, not really a double upload, but like a same day kind of drop video. But basically, by the time this video comes out, most likely the video about me reviewing the physical copy of Return to the Pit has already been dropped in my third channel, One Extra. So keep on the lookout and maybe give One Extra a subscribe, because I've been uploading a little bit more over there. But, you know, just letting you guys know.
We can still learn from. Remember, this is the third time we are going through this story. Clearly, there is something that we've been missing that Scott is trying to draw our attention to. And while I was reading one of the alternate endings, something hit me around the face like a yellow rabbit in 1985. This one ending doesn't just add another log to the is it canon fire. It set off a chain of dominoes that completely changed my outlook on the franchise. It seems crazy, but if you'll stick with me, I promise you, you'll realize just as I did how this book affects the timeline, Fazbear's Full Fest origins, and one of the most confusing yet most important villains in this franchise.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about Afton, and it's not the Mimic.
What?
Keep your arcade tokens ready, theorists, because we've got a prize waiting for us to collect. Lore. Before we get too into the details, in case you somehow missed the last 5 years of this story existing, Into the Pit is about a kid named Oswald. During the summer break, his dad drops him off at a local pizzeria called Jeff's Pizza. While there, he discovers a ball pit that has strange powers. It can take him back in time to 1985.
Because
then,
that
it
isn't
wasn't
strange
Jeff's
enough.
Pizza, but Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. There, he finds a golden rabbit mascot that lures him into a back room and reveals to him a lineup of dead children. Oswald runs to the ball pit to escape and finds his dad on the other side, but the yellow rabbit follows him, pulling his dad into the pit and taking his place in Oswald's life, driving him home, sitting at his dining table, and sleeping in his bed. Oswald has to break out of his own house and return to the
And his
pit
mom
in
didn't
order
even
to find
notice.
his dad, where he manages to trap the yellow
Well,
rabbit
everyone
and
didn't
put him
notice
into
because,
it.
you know,
So, in the
they
original
see his
Fazbear
father,
story,
not
it
the
was
rabbit.
unclear what exactly was going on with this ball pit. Was it really using time travel, or was it Oswald seeing agony-induced memories of the other victims that died in the ball pit? Agony being a powerful negative emotion that works kind of like Remnant, but not really. Listen, don't worry about it. It's really not that important because in this new telling of the story, as well as the game from last year, we're being shown that this ball pit is using physical time travel. In the game,
What?
Oswald is able to take objects from the future into the past and vice versa. And in Return to the Pit, Oswald meets a grown-up Chip, one of the kids he met in 1985, and Chip remembers him. So these retellings do seem to be showing us that it really is a time-traveling ball pit. And if that's the
Surprisingly.
case, then there are a few other details that really begin to matter. Suddenly, anything Oswald witnesses in 1985 are real things present in 1985, even if they aren't the canonical route. And with that in mind, one of the alternative paths becomes very interesting. In 1985, Oswald has the option to leave Freddy's. Once he steps outside, he hears a voice calling for help. If we follow the voice, Oswald is led to a basement around the back of Freddy's. He makes his way down the stairs and is swiftly bonked over the head by the yellow rabbit. As he lies on the floor in a pool of his own blood, beginning to lose consciousness, he hears the voice laughing at him. Now, you may be wondering why this particular ending stood out to me. Yeah, it's a bit creepy, but it's just another nowhere path that leads to Oswald's demise. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal comes from when you read the description of the character this mysterious voice is coming from. Quote, about 5 steps away, sitting in the shadow, you see a doll that resembles a little girl. She has red hair in pigtails and is wearing a red dress that matches her hair. Her face, legs, and arms are bone white, and she has a blood-red nose and crimson circles on her cheeks. Her entire appearance is
circus,
unnerving.
baby.
Immediately, I knew I needed to identify this character. My first thought was Eleanor from other Fazbear Fright stories like To Be Beautiful. After all, Return to the Pit is a retelling of a Fright story. She is described as looking like a dog with a clown-like face and red pigtails. This felt like an obvious match, but then when I went back and took a closer look at Eleanor's description, the more that connection felt less and less strong. Yes, she's got a clown-like face, but her cheeks are actually pink, not red, and her body is silver, not white. There's also how her body is described. Quote, its body was sleek and silver with a long neck, a tiny waist, and a rounded bust and hips. Its legs and arms were long, slender, and elegant. Yes, she is described as being doll-like, but that doll is more reflective of an adult woman with a rounded bust and hips and longer limbs. But the doll in Return to the Pit is described as looking like a little girl, as in not a fully grown woman. So Eleanor wasn't really fitting the bill for me. But while I scratched my head over this, there was one other detail that pointed me in the right direction. Quote again, you hear the sound of laughter beside you, high-pitched giggling. You turn your head and look at the doll. She sits there, perfectly still, but the laughter gets louder and louder. As we discussed, it feels like this book is trying to...
You know, I'm gonna sound stupid for saying this, but I don't know. Like, the fact that you're telling it it's a doll, it kind of sounds like Ella. You know, Ella from that FNAF, that Fazbear Fright story, 1:35 a.m. I mean, I know it's not exact, but I mean, let's be honest. Ella was basically Charlie's toy, and let's be honest, Charlie was giving a was given a lot of main character vibes in the original novels, and the fact that Circus Baby was technically the fourth iteration of Charlie, I find was just going to be like Ella. Because, Fazbear Frights like to connect to different corners of FNAF canon, and they were drawing a little bit about Fazbear, the original novel trilogy.
Combine itself with the game canon. So, a red nose, red cheeks, red hair, a red dress, and a creepy childlike laugh can only match one character, Plush Baby. Now, if you're like me, you're probably sitting there thinking, what the heck is Plush Baby doing here? Her inclusion felt so intrusive, like an annoying ad that keeps asking for your data on every website you visit, or like Auntie as he follows me around the office.
Dang!
Today's sponsor, NordVPN.
Oh, come on!
Two of those things. The truth is, I've actually been asking this question for a long time. Plush Baby was first introduced back in FNAF VR.
Okay, so before we get into the video, alright? Before we get even further to the video, first of all, god dang, Tom and Santi, please. What will MatPat think about this? But anyways, I know what he's gonna bring up, because I've also been noticing it too. That Plush Baby just been appearing. Like, okay, I didn't know about the FNAF VR, but I saw them a lot. Like, let's not forget, they also showed up in Ruin too. Like, why are they doing in Ruin? I'm just saying, man, like, they have been showing up a little bit, and that has caused some concerns.
Help Wanted as a simple plushy version of Circus Baby, even using the same lines as her, just higher pitched. Her level was, let's say, challenging.
Oh!
But from a
Poor
lore perspective,
MatPat.
this was a VR game made by Fazbear Entertainment to fix their reputation while also promoting merchandise. So, a plush version of Baby that people could then love or hate that they could then take home with them makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What didn't make a lot of sense is the fact she kept reappearing in games that didn't have that lore purpose. In Help Wanted 2, we're essentially a technician fixing all the attractions. But there Plush Baby is, making her way towards us to jump scare us. In Security Break Ruin, Cassie can find a secret room inside Bonnie Bowl that, when you take off the Vanny mask, reveals a room full of Plush Babies all laughing like they do, only to disappear when you turn your back. And you can also collect AR versions of the plushie, with Cassie's only comment being, what is she doing here? Not only has Scott been including her in all the Steel Wool era FNAF games, but he is specifically calling out that her presence is weird. And now she's being shoved into Return to the Pit during 1985.
Yep.
What is Scott trying to tell us with this character? Well,
that
take a
apparently
look at
she's
Plush
important, I
Baby's design
guess.
compared to the character she's based on, Circus Baby. What difference do you notice? Besides the fact that one is a doll and one is a 7-foot monster clown. The eyes. Plush Baby's eyes are blue, while Circus Baby's eyes are green.
Okay.
Fans of the franchise will remember that this isn't a design error from Scott. Circus Baby's eyes were originally blue, up until she scooped Afton's daughter Elizabeth and got Circus Baby's Pizza World shut down before it even opened. When Baby scooped Elizabeth, Baby became possessed by Elizabeth, and as part of that, gained Elizabeth's green eyes. So for the Plush Babies to have blue eyes, they have to have been based on the character prior to Elizabeth's scooping. Therefore, from a timeline perspective, for this toy to exist as it does in Return to the Pit, a blue-eyed Circus Baby needed to exist before 1985. We still don't have anything telling us exactly when her scooping happened prior to that date in 1985, whether it was before or after Dave the Crying Child and Charlie's deaths. But hey, at this point with FNAF, I'll take whatever timeline wins I can get.
Okay.
But that isn't the only thing this appearance teaches us. Because of Circus Baby's Pizza World's ambiguous placement in the FNAF timeline, there have been a lot of theories about why Baby and the Fun Times were designed with claws in their stomachs and cavities large enough to hold a child inside of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was to capture kids, but it's more about why Afton chose this method to capture them when the only thing we'd seen at that point was him stuffing the kids into suits himself. One option that has been theorized about is that the Fun Time designs were made to capture kids in their stomachs because of the police police sniffing around after the missing children's incident. Afton couldn't risk getting caught leading children into the back room himself like he used to, so he'd just have the animatronics do it for him. But in this book, we're being shown that Plush Baby, and therefore a pre-Elizabeth baby, were around before 1985, before the missing children's incident, which happened in Return to the Pit in 1985. That implies that Afton's use of Baby and the Fun Times was less responsive and more proactive. Like it was always the plan to have them assist him in capturing kids. Like he knew it was the smart approach to have help rather than doing it all himself. He wanted someone else to bring the kids to a secluded place where he could then kill them. He needed an accomplice. And if you think about it, this idea is actually being reflected with Plush Baby's recent appearances. In return...
I mean... I feel like that could be. I mean, for all we know, William Afton is a narcissist, so I'm pretty sure he would want to still get his hands dirty. He still would want to get his hands dirty, to say the least. But, an accomplice. And I guess that also fits because he also had Vanessa, well, mind-controlled Vanessa, basically tried to go through many people. Let's not forget, Vanessa wasn't the first attempt. Like, there was also Jeremy as well, who then cut his own face off, which, ooh.
The pit, Oswald is led to a mysterious back room by Plush Baby and is then killed by a yellow rabbit. It's not literally Afton, it's a weird monster version of Afton with hundreds of teeth. But then again, it's not literally Baby either. Instead, it's symbolic of the relationship these two characters had. Baby is once again helping to capture the kid, luring them to a place where Afton can finish them off. A similar thing happens in Ruin when we play as Cassie, another child. We're lured to a secret back room, much like Oswald was, and inside are a bunch of giggling plush babies. Fortunately, this time, no rabbit came to kill us, and you know why? Because the one who is acting like Afton, the mimic, is locked downstairs in the basement. We haven't released it yet. We can't even put on the Vanny mask in this room, because doing so would summon mixes, the thing that is working to keep the mimic trapped. Symbolically, we're being shown that Afton, or things that think they're Afton, don't work alone. Though it's not just symbolic either. The more I thought about this, the more I realized that recent FNAF has been showing us Afton's need for an accomplice to pull off his plans. Just take a look at the FNAF movie. We've never actually talked about the FNAF movie on this channel before, mainly because Lee stole it from me. Hey, you weren't using it. Well, I am now, so I'll be taking this back, thank you. Dude, you can't just... Oh, look over there! I think Santi's trying to steal an anime episode from you. Hey, come back here! No, you don't! Where was I?
Control yourselves! What will MatPat think about?
Oh, yeah, the FNAF movie. In that movie, we meet William Afton, played by Matthew Lillard. But a key twist of the movie is that while he got Mike the job at Freddy's, he had someone on the inside keeping an eye on him. In fact, the only reason Afton showed up at the end to try and kill Mike was because this person didn't do their job.
You had one job. One. Keep him in the dark and kill him if he got too close.
That's 2 jobs.
His own daughter, Vanessa, in the movie universe, is Afton's accomplice. Just like how Baby, an animatronic that would be possessed by Afton's daughter and represent her going forward, was his accomplice in the game timeline. Now, look, I know this idea that Afton has always had an accomplice might sound like a bit of a stretch. It always seemed like Afton was the sole killer. And believe me, I get it. I've been going back and forth with Ash on this topic for weeks. Just look at this whiteboard. Does this look like something sane people would write? But trust me, I really think there's something to this idea that Afton always needed an accomplice, especially because it would really begin to explain why Vanessa was so important to Glitch Trap in the modern games. I always found it a bit weird that...
It's kind of weird about Vanessa. It's weird that William wants an accomplice because, I'm gonna be honest, like I said earlier, I just feel like William Afton just feels so much like a narcissist. He always feels like a narcissist. He wouldn't give anyone else the glory but himself. I mean, regardless of how you believe it, regardless if you believe in every other FNAF theory that Game Theory has made before, whether you follow the FNAF timeline that Game Theory made or any other timeline or all that, we know for a fact that William Afton has created so many robots. He has made so many robots to kill. Okay? And he's always done it himself. It's always about him, him, him. And of course, we still don't know we don't know what his motive is. The only motive that I'm pretty sure all of us have agreed upon is that he wants to reach immortality. He wants to escape the mortal flesh. He wants to live forever, to continue his work. Right? Right. So it just didn't felt like he would want an accomplice. And if he would want an accomplice, back in the day, he wouldn't really want someone human. He would most likely want robots because they're easier to control. But if you're telling me that Circus Baby is his accomplice, I don't have a problem with that. Because that's still technically his robot. He created Circus Baby, so okay, fair. But I don't know, man. I mean, Vanessa kind of makes sense too. I mean, I always thought that it was just capturing Vanessa's body and just make it as a host. You know, basically William Afton or Glitchtrap being a parasite to Vanessa's mind. Maybe make a body for himself so he can leave Vanessa alone and have his new, more stronger body. But, hey, man, I don't know William Afton. I'm not his manager.
Mimic One program acting like Afton, otherwise known as Glitchtrap, decided that he needed to brainwash someone in order to accomplish its goal. It's a cool concept, and we've always liked the Cult of Afton idea, but it just
I still think we should still have it.
Compared to other developments in the franchise. The only logical explanation we've had is that it needed a new body to be made because its main body was destroyed and locked away down in the FNAF 6 location. But if I'm right about what this book and all of these other games are showing us, then it is way more than just a simple put me back together plan. It was the Mimic once again following in Afton's footsteps. It needed its own accomplice. The other weird detail that we just couldn't quite answer was why did Vanessa look like grown-up Elizabeth? Blonde hair and green eyes. Unlike in the movie, she didn't appear to actually be Afton's daughter. The timelines didn't match up. But if the Mimic was copying everything Afton did, from killing kids in the back room during VIP to literally wearing the bunny costume Afton used to wear, then it couldn't have just anyone be its accomplice. It needed to find one that matched Afton's previous accomplice, Circus Baby, i.e. Elizabeth. And here's
what?
The thing, for once, I don't think this is just another one of those clarifying details that we've talked about in previous episodes. When Scott clarifies small details, they tend to be very obvious and direct. But this relies much more on us connecting the dots and using symbolism. So much so that he's been shoving it in our faces for the past 5 years, and we're only just starting to realize what it means. That, dear theorists, tells me that while this modern era of FNAF has moved on physically from the days of Afton and Henry, there's still much more for us to learn about them and how they operate. And I believe it's going to affect where this franchise is going. And ironically, I think that ties together really nicely with the thing we've been theorizing about for a long time, Fall Fest. Fazbear's carnival origins from the 70s that we'll hopefully be getting to see more of in the new game, Secret of the Mimic. This is where a bunch of our previous theories all come together. In my very first FNAF theory, I briefly mentioned how Circus Baby has always been the oddball in terms of design aesthetic compared to all the other characters. But a circus like Fall Fest would allow her design to feel much more at home, especially now that we have designs like Jackie. In my Secret of the Mimic theory, I also theorized that Fall Fest, specifically of 1979, would be where we'd get to see one of Afton's earliest kills, maybe even his first. This was because of a quote used by Steel Wool's design director when the trailer for the game dropped. A line from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar that comes from a scene between Mark Antony and Brutus, where Brutus had killed Caesar, but Antony couldn't accuse him publicly. I believe this was reflecting Afton and Henry, with Afton being Brutus, Henry being Antony, and an innocent child filling the role of Caesar, because Caesar loved Brutus just like the kids loved Afton's yellow rabbit. I believe that much like Antony, Henry was unable to accuse Afton publicly despite knowing about it because it would lead to the downfall of his business. So by combining combining these two theories, as well as what we've talked about today between Afton and Baby, we get a much clearer picture of what we can expect to learn about from Secret of the Mimic. Not only are we likely to learn about one of Afton's earliest kills, but we're going to see the true introduction of his accomplice that he's been using since the beginning, Baby. Someone that will distract parents and help Afton lure kids into a secret area and kill them. If I'm right, this would further explain why, after the death of his son, his first instinct was to go back to Baby for his new venture. It was a return to form, back to the partner he could trust after his previous partner Henry betrayed him by making an animatronic that killed his son. The only
Come
thing
on,
I'm
man.
not really sure about, and the thing I'm most excited to see, is who this accomplice actually was. As I've mentioned in previous theories, Fall Fest wasn't the era of animatronics, but costumes. So this Baby accomplice won't be the bundle of wires we know today. It will be a costume worn by a human performer. Was it just another person playing the baby clown role as part of the circus that Afton trusted? Or was it Afton's actual baby, Elizabeth? A little girl dressed as a clown helping her dad at his circus job by...
Are you serious now, my brother? Are you serious? You know what? Let me just continue.
Playing with other kids, making her more of an unknowing accomplice, like Vanessa is the reluctant follower for the Mimic. I think thematically it works really nicely, and it explains the whole Baby name, but we just have no idea how old Elizabeth is at any point in the story, so it's hard to say for sure that she'd have even been alive during 1979. Maybe that's another point of clarification that Scott will add for us in Secret of the Mimic. Or, you know, he'll just do another retcon and then gaslight us into thinking it was there the whole time. I'll admit there's also the chance that this is where Jackie / the Mimic comes into play, with their clown design being the premise for Baby later on. They were initially the accomplice learning from Afton, but later became the master, turning Vanessa into their own accomplice. But what do you guys think? I know that this one feels like a big swing, so I'd really love to hear what you think right now over on GT Live. Ash...
Okay. How much long is this video? Okay, 20... Yeah, I can do it. Alright. I think this is where we're going to stop the video. Well, stop the reacting and get to the talking. So, if you guys not want to hear me ramble, then thank you guys so much for watching. And, you know, catch you guys later. Most likely tomorrow, maybe. Well, it depends, but I'll catch you guys on the next video. But for those who are willing to stay and hear me ramble... Alright. So, what do you guys think about this video? I'm just gonna outright saying this. I like the video, right? I do. And I know people are gonna say, here we go, Juan's being his game theory lover 69 phrase. Juan's gonna glaze game theory to the ends of the earth. I'm not sure if people really think that, but at this point I just have a genuine feeling that I'm starting to feel like I glaze game theory too much. But don't worry, guys. This is a part of me where I'm not glazing. Because I'm not gonna lie, here's the thing. The video was good, right? And don't get me wrong, an accomplice, okay, sure, I can go with this. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, like, Joker has Harley Quinn, right? Right. So many villains, right? They always have, like, an accomplice. There's always an accomplice. And while I still don't think William Afton would want an accomplice, I do genuinely believe that if he were to have an accomplice, it would be someone robotic. It wouldn't be someone human, because they can easily betray him, snitch on him, and all that. So he would most likely trust a robot that he can control. One that he can keep an eye on, and one that he can just dismantle or seal away if he feels like they're not useful anymore. Right? Right. So, the whole Elizabeth Afton one. Okay. Because here's the thing. I do genuinely believe that Elizabeth Afton. Honestly, look, here's the thing. I genuinely believe that if William Afton... Hold on. Okay, I collected my thoughts. I don't think Elizabeth Afton is going to show up in Secret of the Mimic. Because, say that if she did show up, say that for some whatever reason, Elizabeth Afton is always been the accomplice of William Afton. That Elizabeth Afton was either manipulated or just William Afton just manipulated his own daughter into thinking, yes, help Daddy by distracting the parents while I entertain the kids, he said, holding his knife behind his back. Or just convincing her that, yeah, we're going to do some fun activities here in the fair. We're going to have those kids' heads rolling. Which, let's be honest, putting your own daughter in child labor so you can do your killing spree, or aka child manipulation, at this point, I perfectly expected this from William Afton. At this point, what crime wouldn't he have committed at this point? But then again, Elizabeth Afton, there's no telling how old she would be at that point. Matter of fact, we never know when did Michael Afton, Crying Child, or Elizabeth Afton, what year they were born. We don't even know what year William Afton was born in. So, I mean, like, there's no way that's gonna happen. But it's just that, look, I like the theory. I really do. But I don't think I like the whole Elizabeth stuff. I think that's just my gripe. I just don't... The theory's good, but I just don't think Elizabeth Afton needs to be added more into this. I'm perfectly A-okay with the whole Jackie animatronic being the one as the quote-unquote accomplice. I'm just saying. I just feel like that could be what it is. Do I think William Afton is going to be, like, be an active villain role in this? I think... I mean, let's be honest. It would be surprising if he wasn't in any shape or form, but... You know, this is Secret of the Mimic, so, I mean, like, it could be that William Afton's just taking the back seat at this one. But I just feel like maybe, just maybe, I feel like it'd just be the Jackie animatronic or any other animatronic, because we only just know of Jackie. We're not sure about any other animatronics, because you know with FNAF, it's never just 2 new characters. There is going to be a conglomerate of new characters. We're going to get new Freddys, new Chicas, new Bonnies, new Foxies, new Springtraps, and heck, maybe new puppets. So, I mean, and yes, I know that it's going to be costume based, so I get it, but I mean, like, still though, I mean, let's be honest. But I just don't think Elizabeth Afton is going to show up in Secret of the Mimic. It just feels like, alright, now you're just driving the Afton part way too close, buddy. But, yeah, Theory was alright. I guess I can live with the whole William wanting an accomplice, I guess. But I just don't think Elizabeth... I think, yeah, just lose me with the Elizabeth part, is what I'm trying to say. But anyways, after a long ramble, that's going to be the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the video so I know you guys enjoy. Comment down what you guys think. Do you think Elizabeth Afton is going to be involved with this, or you think she isn't? Because me personally, I don't want her to be involved. If there's going to be an accomplice, just let it just be Jackie or, you know, the Mimic. I'm perfectly fine having William Afton and the Mimic just be the main antagonists of Secrets of the Mimic. That's just fine. Just leave Elizabeth Afton out of this, okay? Because again, unless I'm starting to see canon official statement from Scott Cawthon himself saying what year the Afton kids were born in, I don't physically see Elizabeth Afton, you know, making an appearance here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that way you'll never miss out another reaction. We are doing a lot more. We got a lot more. We got Alex Bale reaction videos coming up, as well as some new reaction videos coming up. And also, yeah, and pretty much that's about it. So this is Juan Gamer 54 sitting down, not sitting down, signing off.